This is a new BMW M2 G87. My name is Bilal Akil and I'll be talking you through the design and engineering features of this car. It comes from a pedigree of M sports cars, of which the original bad boy M3 E30 was the most inspiring. In 2011, BMW revealed the 1M Coupe, which was a mishmash of M3 parts cobbled together to make a lightweight, compact performance coupe. Although the 1M Coupe is dead, that has now become a classic. Then in 2015 came the first generation M2, the F87, which hit the roads in 2016. The BMW M2 competition was introduced in 2018, and in March 2020 we saw the introduction of the more potent and widely acclaimed BMW M2 CS, a more track-focused version of the BMW M2 competition. This is now the second generation BMW M2, the successor to the CS Superstar. There has been a lot of backlash about this car's design. Some online comments have said it's like Lego and others have said it's plain ugly. That's become quite a controversial talking point. It reminds me of the Chris Bangle design days when he kind of first introduced his change of the kind of BMW design. I think we are at the cusp of something new and possibly exciting. I will add my own artistic and design perspective to this. The exterior car design is, well, it's quite unusual. It does look like a brick with some soft edges in places. I think it's more inspired by German Brutalist architecture. For those who aren't familiar with this term, German Brutalism was a form of architectural expression which emerged in the 1950s and was further infused with the 20th century modernist movement. Now, Brutalist architecture is distinguishable by rigid large-scale geometry with massive concrete blocks, which is more known for its kind of functionality. Now, turning back to this car design, this current BMW M2 Coupe appears to focus on form, and I think unofficially it seems to be inspired by the Brutalist architecture, and it could perhaps explain its blocky design. Now, it appears to be a design shift in BMW car design for this particular generation, and you either love it or you hate it. I personally am quite drawn to this rugged, brick-like look to this car design, in the same way I'm drawn to particular Japanese car design. I think it looks unique in an age of like kind of really slick spaceship car designs. It certainly does stand out, and I think after perhaps a few design iterations through the generations, it may actually even become a classic. Turning to the actual design, the front kidney grille has now been cleaned up. It's slightly wider, and it's removed the outer chrome, which is quite interesting because that's been a design motif for BMW since its early days. The design looks much cleaner, but without the kind of chrome, it does look that something is missing. The front lights are smaller and yet boxier, yet quite angled, and they're quite angled quite aggressively. The M2 doesn't have the enlarged, long kind of nostrils that you see on the 4 Series, which I quite personally like because it makes it look quite mean. But instead, in this car, it's a kind of boxer, square jaw kind of look, which is suited to this car because it's quite short. You wouldn't want those kind of large nostrils on a short kind of car. It would look quite weird. Overall, it's got quite a hard cut look. The blockiness doesn't really entirely sit well with the kind of C-pillar, which is a bit more kind of curved. And the rear vents do look kind of like block kind of fighter jet kind of pieces that have been put on both on the front and the backs. There's a kind of powerful rear end with this eye-catching spoiler lip on the boot lid, and then the pairs of exhaust tailpipes are positioned in a long way. The BMW M2 features flared wheel arches, which are welcome, but the BMW silhouette remains. The carbon fiber mirrors are from the M3 and M4 models. The rear view is chopped off and also looks a bit blocky. The rear lights are kind of smaller bricks, and well, just as blocky really again, and different to those that we've seen in the M4. This is in a Zabardast blue. No, I'm just flexing some Punjabi. It's a pastel kind of blue color, and there are other launch colors. There's a choice of 2 solid and 3 metallic paint finishes, including this Zandvoort blue solid and a Toronto red metallic shade, which are exclusive to the G87 BMW M2. The blue isn't as striking as the thunderous blue that we've seen in the previous BMW M2 CS, and the red is reminiscent of the BMW E30 M3 in my opinion. Let's have a quick look around the engine and performance. The new BMW M2 is powered by a twin-turbo straight-six engine. It inherits the S58 engine from the BMW M3 and M4. The engine produces 454 brake horsepower. The M2 twin-turbo engine.
This is a rear-wheel drive car.
The M2's transmission is by way of an 8-speed automatic transmission as standard, or you can have the optional extra of a 6-speed manual transmission. The agile handling and outstanding performance for its segment is due to its kind of powertrain and chassis technology adapted from the BMW M3 and M4. It also shares the same suspension architecture as the M3 and M4, so it's kind of a pick and mix from both the 3 and 4 series platforms. The BMW M2 Coupe propels from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. That's for the automatic, and for the manual it's 4.3 seconds. Still incredibly fast. The engine revs to 4,250 revs per minute. It has a top speed of 155 miles an hour, but that's limited, and if you kind of have a optional extra, that can be extended to 177 miles an hour. The M2 now weighs in nearly as much as the M4 and produces 267 brake horsepower ton, which overall makes this M2 quite a little pocket rocket with a little snarling exhaust note. It has M compound brakes with 6-piston fixed caliper brakes at the front and single-piston floating caliper brakes at the rear. The result of this means that the car is able to brake much quicker. Its compact dimensions and short wheelbase and torsional stiffness provide a balanced 50-50 weight distribution. The bespoke chassis setup was fine-tuned on the Nuremberg circuit with an emphasis on agility. There is an adaptive M suspension with electronically controlled dampers and M Servotronic steering with variable ratio as standard. All this adds up to the driving excitement. However, I do think that the stiffness of the M2 may be an issue on UK roads, certainly for the potholes. Inside, the BMW M2 features a driver-focused cockpit with a range of premium materials and features, as you would expect from BMWs. The seats are sporty and supportive, and the dashboard is designed with the driver in mind, with a large digital instrument cluster and a touchscreen infotainment system, which has been kind of updated from before, and it's angled towards the driver. The interior of the BMW M2 is designed to provide a sporty and luxurious driving experience. The cabin is spacious with room for up to 4 passengers and is finished with high quality materials and attention to detail. Even if you have a look at the dials and the little small icons, they're matching with the BMW M type icons as you see on the badges. It has optional M carbon bucket seats, which could be an issue for those with back problems. The standard seats are likely to be more comfortable and better for long drives, and are definitely easier to climb into, in and out of, and yet be very supportive. You can see the attention to detail. We'll just look at that stitching. I quite like seeing this kind of pipe stitching on here, and the leathers interior. It's, you can see that this is kind of real refinement. Quite a bit of luggage capacity with the option to fold back the seats. In terms of technology, there's a smartphone integration for Apple CarPlay and for the Android. You can also add a personal eSIM in the vehicle, and it has its own 5G antenna system, which I think is quite advanced techie stuff. It is a compact performance car and can fit in 4 passengers. Some taller passengers may have problems in fitting in the small little Boxer. So at the same time, it offers performance and practicality as much as it can within its little limited capacity. In terms of pricing, we priced around 70,000 when it's spec'd up, and you add in all the taxes and everything else. And don't forget that manual gearbox. At these price points, you're looking at kind of all singing, all dancing 4-litre Porsche 718 Cayman GTS. And for a little less, you're probably looking at the Toyota Supra and the Honda Civic Type R. Now, all are worthy contenders. It'll be interesting to see comparisons against these cars. This car is most welcome, especially in an age where electric cars and hybridization is taking over the industry. I can only have praise for the chiefs and engineers at BMW for creating this fantastic little pocket rocket with the option of a manual gearbox, which you quite rarely see in most cars coming out these days, which will have its magical mastery that comes with this little go-kart. Although the punchy performance of this BMW M2 may question the M3 and M4, I think those models each have their own character and their own kind of performance benefits as well as followings. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this particular episode. If there's anything else you'd like me to review, please let me know in the comment section below. Until then, take care. Goodbye.